Hi, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Full Court Podcast with your host, Orazio Cauchi. We are entering the most crucial part of the season, the EuroLeague playoffs. So it's going to be a very intense period. And so to talk about the EuroLeague playoffs and much more, this week, as my guest, I have my colleague at BasketNews.com, Uygar Karaca. Uygar, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you back on the podcast, man.
Yo, hello. Thanks for inviting me again.
Yeah. So, of course, having Uygar on the podcast, we're going to focus a little bit more on the Turkish teams, but we're not going to focus only on the EuroLeague playoffs. We're going to have other topics too. So to jump right in, of course, we're going to start with Anadolu Efes. The Turkish team has already secured a playoff spot in the EuroLeague. Although at the time in which we are recording this, we still don't know which team Efes are going to play against in the playoffs. It is either going to be Real Madrid or Armani Exchange Milan. So the first question that I wanted to ask you, Uygar, is of course it's kind of complicated, but do you believe that there's a better opponent for Efes between these two teams, or you think that regardless of which team Efes is going to play against, is going to be a very tough series?
Tough series. It's going to be a tough series for sure. It's a practical answer. I have a feeling that Ergin Ataman wants inherently Armani Milano. Wants to play against his friend Ettore Messina's team. Although he also underlined that they lost to them twice during the regular season. And I think it is not very hard to understand why. Because Real Madrid created huge problems last season for Efes. Okay, they may look vulnerable. They had recently had an issue with two of their players about a discipline issue, but it was the same thing last season. Gabriel Deck was flying away, all the other players had injuries and stuff like that. So Real Madrid always comes with tricks. Pablo Lasso knows how to play in the playoffs, and Efes is a team that you can sometimes hack because they have their weapons, they have their very well-known structure, and sometimes that structure can be attacked. Okay, Milano does that as well, but in terms of explosiveness, I think Efes has some stronger parts when we compare to Milano. Not in defense maybe, but in general play, and I have the feeling that if Efes plays against Milano, then they can pull one away win, which is crucial in this type of series. So I think Milano could be a better option, despite the fact that Real Madrid looks vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you let's say if you have to pick one, who do you believe is going to be a key player for Efes in this playoff series?
I would say, it's easy to say Shane Larkin, but I take Shane Larkin's value as a given. So he's when you need him, you know what is going to happen next.
Yeah.
He never disappoints. Sometimes, you can slow him down, but you cannot totally stop him. Mitsic and Bobo's return are important because when there was no Mitsic, Larkin did very well, and the team generally responded very well with the ball movement, and everybody got involved. But if you ask me, I think the most crucial player right now for Efes is Adrian Moerman. Not because he sent those 3-pointers. That attack from outer zones from outside, but he also fights for the rebounds, which is very important for Efes. So his 3-point accuracy is very critical and gonna be very decisive for Efes system to work. if you ask me. But I will put the names of James Anderson and Chris Singleton to here, as well as Brian Dunstan, because lately they are doing very well. They are like their form is in an upward trend, and those offensive rebounds were very crucial against Bayern, for instance, and also in the Alba game. Dunstan did very well and very important things in defense. So these three and Adrian Moerman, maybe the most importantly, going to be very crucial.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on the less happy side of Istanbul with Fenerbahce, of course we already know that Fenerbahce won't play in the EuroLeague playoffs this season, and they are officially eliminated from the EuroLeague postseason. And last night they lost a pretty important game in the Turkish league against Galatasaray with kind of a crazy ending. Galatasaray went on a 13-0 run to finish the game and to win it. So what I wanted to ask you, Uygar, is first of all, you were at the arena last night for the game against Galatasaray. What type of game did you see, and what do you think is the atmosphere in the club as of right now, since it's such a difficult moment for them?
Actually, they lost not one game, but two games in 2 days. One of them was the Fenerbahce support the women's basketball team in the EuroLeague women's final. They were really the favorites against Sopron, and they have the bigger budget. If you are looking to Fenerbahce, you need to understand the things in a holistic manner. Yeah. Like not just basketball, men's basketball, but women's basketball, volleyball, and football, what's going on there. They won the derby in football that night, so that was nice for them. But these two defeats against opponents that they think that they can win, and for Galatasaray, I mean, it is very important. Now the club's mode is more dark and gloomy. That's what I can say. Because let me tell you this: on Sunday night, it was a more hot atmosphere there. I mean, the fans were more hopeful about winning the title in EuroLeague Women, and the crowd was maybe more or less the same, roughly the same. The numbers were roughly the same, but the overall atmosphere was a little bit, how to say, discouraged on Monday night. Only in the last quarter, only in the part that Fenerbahce created a breakthrough and got in front. Then there was this kind of hype that you can feel that Fenerbahce was electrifying the crowd, and they started to believe. But what was strange to me is that Fenerbahce could never sit on the driving position in the game. Galatasaray was always in control. They controlled the tempo, they controlled the rebounds. Fenerbahce could not score in rhythm. They could not find their rhythm. So when they cannot find their rhythm, the fans cannot come in. That is the issue with Fenerbahce with so many games in EuroLeague as well. So that was strange to me, because Galatasaray, yes, they had very, very valuable additions. Now they have their new coach and Isaiah Cannon, a scorer like Isaiah Cannon came. But yeah, the general mood is not good. I think some people think that now the Sasha Djordjevic credit is overdue, and nobody knows. I mean, in the next days, some breaking news can pop up. Yeah, and that's actually what I wanted to ask you after. Do you think that at this point, Sasha Djordjevic has no hope to save his
job also for the next season?
Next season, I mean, I don't know, even tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, there is this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Djordjevic has a lot of justifications. I mean, he has so many valid points.
Mm-hmm.
The COVID situations, the injury situations, and the Russians club situations. They, they were really put in a bad position. They were unlucky. Fenerbahce. But if you look at Djordjevic's career, we see so many of those type of situations. You know better than me in Virtus Bologna.
Yeah.
He was already parting the ways. Then according to some rumors, the Serbian players, back him up, and he kind of made a comeback coup with the Serbian players. So he has this thing, is this resilience to stay on the bench. I mean, he's a big name still. His CV is not very bright, shining very bright, but so he has this capability to stay on the bench. But Fenerbahce is a very big club, and as we talked the last time we talked, I think we touched upon this topic. It's a very big club, and if you are not winning, if you're losing very regularly, if you are losing against Galatasaray, if you're losing in EuroLeague and now you don't have any chance to proceed in EuroLeague, then you are in definitely hot seat. So it remains 1 or 2 games. We will see. I think if Fenerbahce gets 1 or 2 bad losses in the upcoming game, because the playoffs are coming. Yeah. So the timing is not very good. But sometimes that timing can be an opportunity as well. Sometimes you bring the new coach, and then he or she gives the boost to the team, and you salvage the season. But it's a tough call, and it's not unprecedented that Fenerbahce coaches are fired at this point after a loss against Galatasaray. So I will not be surprised if I hear such news, but the timing is not very good.
Yeah, it's not ideal. And looking a little bit further into the next season, of course, this might be a time of change, of course, for Fenerbahce, because some of the key players are on expiring contracts. Nando De Colo, Jan Vesely. There are rumors about the possibility of Maurizio Gherardini leaving the club after many years in Istanbul. Personally, do you see a scenario in which there's going to be like an important rebuild of the roster and the front office, or do you think that in the end, many things will remain the same in a way?
I see a big reshuffle. That's what I see, because Vesely and De Colo are obviously very valuable players. I mean, they are one of the best in EuroLeague. But this season also showed us once again that they have this injury problem. They are getting injured. Dallas Mavericks have the same thing with Kristaps Porzingis, and Porzingis was a great player when he was on the court with Luka Doncic. They were doing great things, but they couldn't count on Porzingis, and then they decided to part ways because they were paying him a lot of money. I mean, their salary cap was, filled with those contracts, and at one point you need to make a decision. And Fenerbahce, regarding the budgets, they are not in upward trends; they are going downwards, years by years. At least they are not that much big spender anymore. So looking from this perspective, De Colo has a big contract. Obviously, it's not easy to keep him. Vesely, same. So, I think a big reshuffle might come. And after this season, if Gherardini goes, then probably Djordjevic also will leave the post. And is it needed? I think yes.
Mhm.
I think because Fenerbahce and the fans need a fresh page. I think after this season was full of injuries and they couldn't have much from De Colo. That's bad luck, but he had this before. Basically, same.
Yeah. So we will see, of course, what's going to happen with Fenerbahce at the end of the season, and if there will be news about Djordjevic already in the coming days. The next topic that I wanted to talk about it with you, Uygar, it's more about the Turkish national team, because in the past few days there was the official news that Orhun Ene is no longer the head coach of the Turkish national team. And it looks like the major candidate to become the new head coach of the Turkish national team is Ergin Ataman, who already coached the national team from 2014 to 2016. So it will be a return for him on the national team's bench. Personally, what do you expect right now from, let's say, from the Turkish Federation? Do you think that this deal with Ergin Ataman will go through?
Likely,
Mm-hmm.
likely because now Turkish national team really needs a good leadership, and they need a household name, which I think Ergin Ataman fills the post. I mean, checks all the boxes. The team was left in a difficult situation. Yes, they're advancing, but from the groups, but there was Belarus, and it was very obvious that Turkey was going to advance to the first stage, but not in an ideal situation. Again, this team needs to win more and win a lot of games, because the games that Turkey is going to carry for the next stage is not very much. Ergin Ataman deal will work, I believe, but the problem is the Efes EuroLeague situation, because the windows are clashing sometimes, and but also we saw that some kind of a scenario that comes to my mind is that Jakub Sekizkök is assistant coach, was for some games he was with the team and as a head coach when Ergin Ataman was sick and ill. So I'm thinking about this scenario, like when he is there for FIBA windows, Jakub Sekizkök can coach the team on his absence. I think FS will allow that. It's not an easy situation, but Ergin Ataman is a big name. So I think the club will understand this situation, that the Turkish national team needs guidance right now. And he has a good dialogue with Shane Larkin, obviously. One of the reasons why Orhun Ene couldn't continue was that I think that Shane Larkin situation back in Athens, because in the last 2 minutes, Shane Larkin was available, and Orhun Ene kept him in the sideline, and persisted not to put him in. There is no need for conspiracy theories and stuff like that. He just couldn't find the right time to put him back in, because he thought that it is going to be a defensive liability, which is not true in my own belief, but that's coach's call. But things like that, and losing to Greece twice was something really heavy blow for the national team organization. And Ergin Ataman could be the man, and I think nobody will say anything against that, because he's a proven track record. Yeah.
And on the other end, though, there is some, I believe there is some optimism into the future of the Turkish national team due to a couple of players. Most importantly, of course, Alperen Sengun, who just finished his rookie season with the Houston Rockets. And he has already stated that he wants to play for the Turkish national team in September for Eurobasket. Since, of course, for your work, you follow the NBA a lot too, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts about Alperen Sengun rookie season in the NBA? And if, in your opinion, he can really become, especially for the Turkish national team, a huge, contributor going forward in his career.
Yeah, Alperen Sengun was a surprise for everyone. Like, we all knew that how good he is when he was here, of course. But his development, like his passing skills, his shooting skills, his excellent footwork worked better than everybody expected. And he played for Houston Rockets, so Houston Rockets didn't have much pressure on them. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Houston Rockets didn't have any kind of a pressure on them, at least after just a couple of months into the season. Yeah. So that is very good for a player development. And sometimes he lost his minutes, sometimes he gained back his minutes, but his confidence is growing. And when I look at Alperen Sengun each and every time, I see a more mature player, and that's a very important thing. In one season, recording that kind of a progress is an easy thing. You are into a new country, you don't know the language, you're a very, very young player, and there are so many reasons that go there and went back. For instance, we remember Canan Musa. I think he joined the NBA with the same season in Luka Doncic joined Dallas Mavericks, and didn't work out. It can happen because it's a different world. That doesn't mean that you're not a good player or mediocre player, but it is a possibility. And I'm mostly impressed, like maybe more than Alperen's on-court capabilities, his ability to being adaptive and being visionary, because he sees himself in a place. He sees that he has a potential there and he can fulfill that potential. So overall, it was a great season for him, like many all the other Turkish players like Cedi Osman or Ömer Faruk Yurtseven, and they can all come up into a good, combination and mixture. If they happen to play in EuroBasket in the next, I think, autumn, right? It's November. So I'm very hopeful about EuroBasket. At least we are excited, but there's one concern. Turkey is going to play in Group A, but then it is going to be like the teams that are coming from Group B, which has France, Lithuania, Slovenia, Germany, Hungary, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's just a group of that. So Turkish job is not going to be easy there. And with all those Turkish players, like, as you said, Alperen Sengun and all the others, and if Ergin Ataman happens to be there are plenty of reasons to be hopeful, I guess.
Yeah.
Because Ergin Ataman is a good player manager. Like, he knows how to blend those stars or quasi stars coming together as a team. And national team organizations are not structures that you can embed really high complications or stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have to play the right man and the right moment. You don't have much time for preparations, and that's why I think he is the right person to be, back in the question, and we have every reason to be excited, I guess.
Yeah. The last thing that I wanted to touch base with you was the EuroLeague Women final that was played in the Ulker Arena. You were there, of course. Sopron in the end win. They kind of made history because it's the first Hungarian team to win the Women's EuroLeague. But the atmosphere in general in the arena was so good that even LeBron James got impressed. Although I think that the LeBron James tweet was made when the semifinal of the women's EuroLeague was played and Fenerbahce won. In general, can you give us your thoughts about that experience and how good was that atmosphere in the arena during the women's EuroLeague final?
Yeah, it was great. 10 years ago, I went also Final Eight organization in Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
Fenerbahce and Galatasaray was there as well, and of course the Russian teams and the Spanish teams. And I remember one Fenerbahce Galatasaray game back in Abdi İpekçi, I think it was the other big court, and I remember the whole court was burning at one point. People sending things, burning things onto the court. And I remember Penny Taylor was really struggling with those things. And oh my God, it was a crazy day.
Yeah.
It was nothing like that. And luckily it was nothing like that because I don't want anyone burning on the court. But yeah, the Fenerbahce fans showed their love and support for the women team. That was very nice. But also there is this thing that, Fenerbahce desperately, wanted to win something because it's been so many times that the women's team also reached the Final Four and they previously lost to Galatasaray again, the EuroLeague women title. So they wanted this so badly. Finally, it was a circle, closing. It had to be done there because otherwise you may not have so many chances. The Russian teams are not there. The teams that are coming are not particularly, with great, they have great rosters, but they don't have the superstar rosters. The Prague team, Fenerbahce, managed to come over in the semi-final. It's a very dangerous team. It's a very offensively good team, and Fenerbahce did a great job with the support of the fans. I think it played a big part because they were behind 10 points at one point in the middle of, I think, second half. They were behind, and then Amanda Zahui sent those 3-pointers. Kyla McBride, that LeBron James also tweeted about, sent some incredible 3-pointers, and then their star player Alina Yagupova came into the picture, and it was one of the best games I think this season the women's circle has seen. But in the final, the crowd was packed, and you can feel the energy right there. But Sopron did a great job. I mean, they did not let themselves to be intimidated, but with that crowd, and they did not let the crowd actually come into the picture like Galatasaray yesterday. That are the two impressions of the 2 days that I had in Ataşehir. The crowd couldn't fully get committed. That's what I see.
Okay, so we reached the end for this new episode of Full Court Podcast. So before we finish, of course, I want to thank you, Uygar, for joining me and giving your insights. Thank you very much, man.
Well, thanks from me.
That's a pleasure always to have you here. And I just want to remind you, all of you, that Full Court Podcast is also available in the audio version on all the major streaming platforms. And of course, you can always find the full format of the podcast on our website, BasketNews.com, and on our YouTube channel. So with all you basketball fans, we're going to see you very, very soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.